Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Jay Sonnenberg, and I work for the Instructional Technology Department here in Katy ISD, and I want to introduce the other two speakers. Joe Christofferson, you want to tell them your title, Joe?
Yes, so I'm a Director of Technology Operations for the school district.
And Jenna Fondren is here from Crime Stoppers, and she'll have most of the program tonight, but we're going to get it started and then turn it over to her in a few minutes. So thank you all for giving up your time to tune in or show up and attend firsthand. Tonight we are talking about internet safety, and as you know, our kids are very plugged in. They are connected at home, they're connected at school, and they're very involved with using technology. It's part of their life. And in Katy ISD, we embrace that. We enjoy the fact that they use technology, and we understand how important that is for them in their future. If we are not teaching them about AR, VR, about how to pilot a drone, about coding, then we're doing a disservice to our students. Now, along with those accesses to technology come some inherent dangers. And tonight we want to talk a little bit about that and make you aware of some of the dangers that are out there on the internet, and also show you, our goals are to show you what we do here at Katy ISD to protect our students from some of those dangers, how we educate them about what's out there and how to use technology appropriate. What we don't want to happen tonight is for you to leave, go home, grab all your technology and hide it from your kids. That's not the goal tonight. But instead to educate you and help you manage this world of technology with your children and make it a positive thing for them and something that will benefit them in their future. Internet safety is a multi-pronged approach. In Katy ISD, we approach it from many different angles. Joe is going to talk more about filtering and systems that we have in place to protect everyone in our district, not just the students, but the staff as well, from all kinds of things that are happening with technology. Another part of that is teacher monitoring. It's very important for teachers to be aware of what's happening in the classroom with the students and to monitor what's happening in the classroom. Student self-monitoring is also very important. They have to be able to monitor themselves and know what's appropriate and what isn't when it comes to technology. And finally, digital citizenship education. And I'll talk more about that in a few minutes and explain what that is and how we handle that here in Katy ISD.
All right, to talk a little bit about the systems, one of the first systems we're going to talk about is the content filtering, which plays a big factor in their internet safety. We provide content filtering on all of our systems, all of our networks. So if you're on the guest network, for instance, you're going through our content filter while using that network. All the students go through that filter as well. All the connected devices are also going through those filters. If a student checks out a device from one of our libraries, those systems, when they go home, are also coming back to our filters to be controlled and monitored and filtered for safe internet. So that's a big way we protect them, as well as when we use some of these websites like YouTube, we use restricted mode YouTube and Google Safe Search as features in those applications that provide a safer environment for your students. Another option or things that come up is VPNs. Some parents have asked, should we have a filter on our students' personal cell phone, for instance, which I think is great, a great thing to do. But when you bring it to school, a lot of times those systems don't work because what they do is they filter, or they VPN out to their filtering system. So the phone will connect directly to their filtering system, which will bypass our security measures. So we don't allow VPNs, mainly for that reason, so you can't get around our security features that are in place. Make sure that the environment is safe. So in addition to that, we have firewalls, intrusion protection systems, email security, and all those are focused on the safety for those students and staff here at Katy ISD. Particular things they look for: malware, malicious content, ransomware, viruses, any of that kind of content, whether it's through web pages, through emails. We also do a lot of screening on emails for phishing, and the bulk of our email system is blocking email. Very, very little gets through in comparison. But those are some of the systems we have in place to protect the students and the staff here at Katy. And we do this, 24 hours a day, all the time. So if students are using our Wi-Fi or outside our facilities, after hours, all these measures are still in place.
One other thing that was implemented fairly recently in our district is approving apps. Software, of course, goes through a whole purchase plan when we buy software, but on mobile devices it was quite a bit different. It was something that was fairly new. Teachers originally were allowed to install apps that they thought would be beneficial to them in the classroom. And we still encourage them to go out and find new applications that will be good in the classroom and good for curriculum. However, now they have to be approved. And so the teacher would find an app for an iPad or a Chromebook app and so on, and they would then submit that through a help desk ticket system, and we look through the terms of service, the privacy policy, and make sure that those apps aren't collecting personal information of the students. So that's the biggest concern with apps, and we go through that process with each of those that are requested. We also have a district portal that the students, it's called My Katy, you're probably familiar with that, but the students are directed to go and use the portal because that will direct them to applications that are purchased and vetted by the district instead of Googling everything and just looking for information randomly on the internet. We encourage them to go through our portal first. Today is a brand new day for our new self-service tool, and I think Joe is going to explain how that works a little bit, a little change in how we work with passwords in the district.
Right, so previously all the student passwords were maintained in our student information system and were given out by the teachers to the students. Now we're only going to continue that through kinder or pre-K through 5th grade. Beyond that, all the students will be responsible for maintaining their own passwords through the self-service portal. We will no longer have access to that information. We can help them reset it, but they'll have to do that themselves. In the classroom, they can do it at home. This is available online anywhere. They can do it on mobile devices. And it's passwordreset.ktisd.org is the site for that. It also applies to parents and guardians. If you were to reset your password for your home access center or any other applications you may access, that's where you would do it as well.
And I'll spend a little more time later, and Jenna is going to talk about this as well, but digital citizenship education is a big part of our multi-prong approach that I mentioned earlier. And I just wanted, that's not a common term, it's kind of a school term. A lot of parents aren't familiar with what digital citizenship is, so I just wanted to identify a little bit of some of the different aspects of that. A digital footprint, everything that, it's very important for kids to know that anything that they put online, whether it's uploading a video or posting a comment or anything that they might do, is part, it doesn't go away and it stays there. And sometimes we call that your digital tattoo rather than a footprint because it is so permanent. Netiquette, just online etiquette, how to talk when you're communicating with people via text message or online is part of digital citizenship. Passwords, the importance of having a secure password, and how important your personal information is, and keeping that to yourself rather than sharing it online. Cyberbullying is part of digital citizenship education. Safe searching, citing your sources, copyright, using what belongs to you, giving credit to what belongs to others, and digital health and wellness, which really is when it's time to put the technology away, go outside and play, have a conversation with a human, do something else other than use technology. So that's a big part of digital citizenship as well. In Katy ISD, we have grade-specific lessons that are taught by librarians regarding digital citizenship. So, and we follow the the curriculum from Common Sense Media. I'm going to talk about that and show you a couple sites that relate to Common Sense Media. It's a great free resource that's available to schools and parents and individuals regarding digital citizenship. So the students have lessons through the librarians throughout the school year. We have a Digital Citizenship Week in January, so we just ended that. Our theme this year was Media Balance, time for a digital checkup, and it was all about time to put things away, and we had challenges each week for students. Monday they had to have a device-free dinner or lunch, so put the devices away and eat lunch or dinner without their device with their parents or with their friends at school, and Tuesday was a different challenge, and so on. So I wanted to show you a couple places on Common Sense Media, and maybe Jenna will talk about some of this as well, but Common Sense Media has some information about parental controls. Anytime I speak with parents, I often get questions about what can I do with my child has a phone, and I want to put some controls on that, or I want to monitor it. And this link from Common Sense Media, let me go back up. So when you go to Common Sense Media, you see there's a tab up here at the top left for parents. And this is parenting, media, and everything in between, the guide to parental controls. And go down a little bit. Right here, there are links. If you have an iOS phone or tablet, here's some things that you can do for parental control options on that kind of a device. For an Android device, can I set parental controls in specific apps such as Snapchat? If you want to block certain things within particular apps that your kids are using, it tells you information about how to do that. Okay, so that's a great resource right there. Also, while I'm there, let me go back. I need two hands. Okay, I want to go under that parent section. I'm going to click on that. And also just wanted to point out under movies and TV shows, you could type in the most current, if your child is going with a friend to a movie and you want to know more about that movie, is it appropriate? What age should people attending that movie be? You can just type that into Common Sense and it'll give you all kinds of information about the movie, what's in it, what kind of a rating it has, what do kids think, what do parents think about that particular movie. Not just movies, TV shows, and video games. So if you're not sure if your child is old enough for Fortnite, you can type Fortnite into Common Sense and it'll tell you what the recommendations are for that particular media. So that's just one of the resources. Also under the Parents Need to Know, thank you, Joe. Under the Parents Need to Know tab, you have information here by age group on the left, by topic, cell phones, screen time, social media, privacy, and then the Parent's Ultimate Guide too, and then you can look up specific apps. So if they're using TikTok, the music app a lot, and you want to know more about it, is it appropriate, is it safe, you can click on that and get all kinds of information. So I just wanted to make you aware of that resource that's great for families. And with that, we're going to turn over to Ms. Fondren.
Perfect. Oh, no worries. All right, you guys, well, good evening. Thank you again, just like Jay said, for taking time out of your day to be here. And thank you to everyone who's watching behind the scenes who's connected through the Katie's website and who's watching this as a live stream at home. I work for an organization called Crime Stoppers. Audience members, are you familiar with Crime Stoppers and who we are? ish, kind of. Okay. Well, I will go through that with y'all really quickly. What I do for Crime Stoppers is I manage the Safe School Institute. So I go to schools almost every single day and I talk to students. I work with kids as young as kindergarten and then all the way up to 12th grade. And I am that annoying person that comes into their classroom and talks to them about things that they don't necessarily want to talk about. But I really, truly believe in the impact that our program has on these students and the information that we can provide. Crime Stoppers is actually a two-pronged organization. So we have crime solving and we have crime prevention. When it comes to crime solving, that's our tip line. That is what you see on the news almost every single night. So you hear news anchors say things like, if you've seen this suspect, call Crime Stoppers. If you have any information, call Crime Stoppers. Our famous phone number, 713-222-TIPS. Those are those officers investigating the tip line reports and are trying to solve crime in Houston. Then we have crime prevention, and that's where the Safe School Institute falls. And so we are actively trying to prevent crime and starting with our kids. So not only do I speak to students on a pretty regular basis, I also talk to parents. Very often I work with teachers. I was with like over 200 assistant principals in Katy earlier today talking about human trafficking. So we go around and we talk about cyber safety, human trafficking, teen dating, sexual misconduct, drug and alcohol prevention, and mental health. We kind of have a variety of topics, but cyber safety is the most requested presentation. We get asked to speak about cyber safety like 80% of the time, whether it's with students or whether it's with adults, just because so much of what we're teaching these kids involves the internet, and kids are can become victims easily and can become victims of predatory activity. So we try really hard to teach these kids just how to protect themselves. With you guys today, this presentation is 100% completely different than the presentations that we offer to students. When I go into schools, I'm trying to talk to them about how to keep themselves safe, what to look out for, how to talk to adults about what they're seeing, digital citizenship, being responsible on the internet, how to deal with cyberbullying. This presentation for the parents, this is like an insider's guide. You are going to learn the ins and the outs of the internet and mostly the bad. But I do want to kind of echo Jay's point. I do not believe, just like you were saying, that I don't want you guys going home and just taking every single computer screen and throwing it in the trash and taking your kids' phones. That's really not the point of this presentation. It's just so that you're informed. The worst thing that you could do is be naive around the situation that's actually occurring on the internet. And I just want you to feel like you have the information necessary to protect your kids. Y'all, we can't run away from technology. It is just what is out there. Your kids have to use it every single day. And so instead of running away from it and being scared of it, let's adapt it, embrace it, and learn how to be better while using social media. So our mission at Crime Stoppers is to solve and prevent serious crime in partnership with citizens, media, and the criminal justice system. We have a safe community program and a safe school program. Our safe school program has been around for a long time, and we're a free program, you guys. Anytime, if you're like, oh my goodness, my kids need to hear this, go talk to your principal, go talk to your assistant principal. They all know me now, and say, please have Jenna Fondren come talk to our kids about social media. And before we get started, this is going to sound cheesy just because it does to people, but it's something I wholeheartedly believe in. Kids have the biggest impact, and they really can make the biggest difference when they choose to use their voice for the right reasons. Kids, you guys, they're our first line of defense. They're in these schools every single day, seeing and experiencing and hearing everything. They are the eyes and the ears. They know what good is happening on the campus, what's scary happening on a campus, the bad, the everything. I have so many students after I give presentations that just come up to me and start telling me things that have nothing to do with what I was talking about beforehand, but they're just getting things off their chest. They're wanting a trusted adult to talk to. I want kids to feel empowered to speak up. We need these kids to start talking about when these bad things are happening. I am one of the people in Houston that tends to get phone calls when bad things happen to students in the Houston area. Those are some really, really hard days. That is never an easy day, and what's even harder is when I go to the school to talk to the kids about what they just experienced, and 9 out of the 10 kids who come up to me and talk to me about it say that they knew what was going on, and they just didn't speak up because they were scared. We don't want these kids to be scared to speak up. We want them to feel empowered to use their voices. And so please encourage your kids to talk to adults at school. Never once have I had a student come up to me and tell me they regret reporting. I've only had students come up to me and tell me they regret not reporting. And so again, as long as your parents are circulating this message, teachers are circulating this message, kids can make the biggest difference. All right, you guys, let's kind of jump in and go ahead and get started. So these are just a couple key concepts that are circulated throughout the presentation, and I want to be able to share them with you guys. The internet is a shared space. We have to share the internet with every single person in the entire world. So when it comes to your kids are sharing the internet with teeny tiny ones that all they do is watch like Peppa Pig and Paw Patrol. They're on YouTube Kids all day long playing educational games, gaming. And then we also are sharing the internet with adults and criminals and predators, people who look up creepy, gross, weird, inappropriate stuff. It's not like we have a separate internet for kids and a separate internet for adults. This is one large space that we're all sharing. Therefore, inappropriate information will slip through the cracks. Kids will click on inappropriate things on accident. Their friends will send them a link and they click on it. And when inappropriate information does pop up, and I say when, because it will happen, when this inappropriate information pops up on your child's screen, we want them to feel like they can do something about it. And so we teach them how to exit out of stuff, report and block, and tell a trusted adult what they've seen. Y'all, if your child ever comes up to you and says, hey mom, hey dad, I saw something inappropriate, please, please, please do not jump to blaming and shaming them. This is what I see happen all the time, is your child has mustered up the strength and courage to walk up to you and say, I saw something inappropriate. And the parent automatically jumps to saying, well, why were you on that website? What were you doing? You know better. Well, the minute you start blaming and shaming them, they are not going to come talk to you about the next time they see something inappropriate. They now feel belittled and shamed and guilty about what they did. Please take it as a win. Y'all, the fact that they even came up to talk to you in the first place is big. Most kids don't want to talk to their parents. So if they find that courage, please take it as a win. Say, thank you for telling me. Let's figure out how to block this together. There is absolutely no such thing as online privacy. Not only do kids need to know this, adults need to know this. When you're using the internet, you are not private. Having a private social media page does not mean that you have privacy. Those things are not mutually exclusive. If you choose to use the internet, you do not have privacy. And we need kids to understand this, starting at a young age, because they're getting social media accounts really, really young. They're befriending people on social media at a really young age. I always try to get kids to understand it using this example. If you have an Instagram account, hopefully you have a private Instagram account, which means you limit the amount of people who follow you and who can actually see your page. So let's say you have 100 followers on Instagram. Well, every time that your child posts a picture to Instagram, only those 100 people can see it, or at least that's what people think, which makes them feel private, makes them feel safe. Any of those 100 people can now screenshot that child's picture and upload it anywhere they want to. The minute you press send, the minute you press enter, the minute you press post, you've given up your right to privacy. You are showing the world your picture, your video, your text message, whatever you post on the internet. We just need kids to practice posting things that represent them in a positive way, so that if someone does screenshot what they posted, even if it came from a private account, it doesn't represent their character negatively. And if we can start talking about that with them when they're little, it'll so help for the future. Because also everything that these kids do, anything that anybody does on the internet is permanent. And I'll have adults argue me this point until they're blue in the face, and I'll have kids argue me this point until they're blue in the face. And they say, no, that's not true, Miss Jenna. I can go and delete my Instagrams. I kind of just look at them, I say, of course, you can go into your phone and you can delete your past Instagrams, but that does not mean that they deleted from the internet. We need kids to understand that what they're doing is traceable, and we can always go back and find things. I work with so many law enforcement officers who have been able to pull up stuff on people that I can't even begin to imagine they were able to do so. I also want students to understand what they're agreeing to when they choose to use social media. media. So when they download these apps onto their phones, when you guys as adults download apps onto your phones, and right before I can go make a profile, that annoying document appears. It's titled Terms and Conditions, Terms and Services, Terms and Agreements, whatever it's called, and everyone just scrolls to the bottom and presses agree. No one actually reads what they're agreeing to. The minute that you press agree, the minute you press accept, you've basically signed your rights away. That company now owns your content. Snapchat, the company, owns every picture and video and text any child has ever sent on that app. Same with Instagram and so forth. And so now these kids are giving up their right to privacy, and it will be on the internet, and we can find it if we have the right warrants and can just search well. When I first learned about this, and I was naive before working for Crime Stoppers as well, I was thinking to myself, I had social media when I was in high school. It was MySpace, but I had social media. I don't know if any of y'all had MySpace, but I sure did. I deleted my MySpace account 12, 13 years ago. But I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if it still exists. If the internet is truly permanent, I wonder if it still exists. So again, I'm not an officer and I don't have a lot of the technology to go in and see things, but I just Googled myself. I Googled myself, my old high school, Houston, Texas, everything, and MySpace, a bunch of keywords. I couldn't actually find the web page itself, but when I went to Google Images, a lot of my MySpace pictures started popping up from 13 years ago, and my eyes just went about, this big, and I'm looking at this screen, and I'm mortified because pictures of me from when I was 14 years old are just right there in front of me, and I thought that those had disappeared a long time ago. It wasn't like I was doing anything inappropriate, it's just still accessible for people to see. And a lot of kids, you guys, are not getting into college and are not getting jobs because of what they're posting on social media. Future employers will Google you, college admissions officers Google you, and so we really need these kids to practice positive digital citizenship at a young age. The exposure and the impact as well, really what I'm talking about with these two words is children's mental health. We need these kids to just take care of themselves. We need parents to really check in on these kids. Y'all, what kids are exposed to on a daily basis using the internet, it's adult heavy. There's a lot of adult content floating around all these apps that these kids are using. That's why we have to have parental restrictions and active conversations and when your kids are choosing to use social media. I have Instagram, I have Snapchat, I have TikTok, I'm on Facebook, I have all these apps. A lot of it is, for myself, and a lot of it is for work. But anytime that I get on these apps and I start scrolling through stuff, I see inappropriate content. I'm not actively looking for it, but it is right in front of me. And if I see it and I'm not looking for it, think about what kids are exposed to on a pretty regular basis. And the impact that that can have on them is pretty severe. Again, I work with kids as young as kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. It is very rare that I leave an elementary school, and if I'm talking to an older grades in elementary school, like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, that those kids don't come up to me or even raise their hand mid-presentation and don't ask me either about pornography or suicide. And they're in 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade. At first, when I was kind of exposed to this and I was hearing questions about pornography and suicide coming from 10-year-olds, I had a really hard time with it. I would get in my car and cry. Really and truly, I'm going to be honest with y'all, that was hard for me to hear. Now I'm just almost expecting it, which I don't know if that's better or worse. It's just something I'm used to. I did not know what those two words were when I was 10 years old. But kids are exposed to a lot. And we lost a 10-year-old in this city last year, and we need parents to take care of their kids and what they're exposed to, the cyberbullying, the content. So again, I know seems kind of like negative focus, but I want to be transparent with you guys as to what's actually happening. So here are a couple statistics that I think are pretty eye-opening. 10 to 14 is the average age of online victimization. We see a lot of kids victimized right around that age range just because they are such a vulnerable age range as well. 10 to 14-year-olds, all they want to do is feel accepted by not only their peers, but by their family, by teachers. They just want to feel like somebody wants them. Y'all, and if they're not getting attention at home or at school, where do they turn to get attention? The internet. It is so, so easy for kids to just log on, start posting, and getting people to start messaging them, telling them how beautiful and amazing and special and attractive they are. And so, again, I'm totally okay with social media as long as there's monitoring, you guys. You have to look at your kids' direct messages. You have to monitor how many friends they have and who they're talking to and who they're communicating with, because kids are just so vulnerable. We also tell kids to not post their frustrations or the things that they're struggling with on the internet. When kids use the internet as that forum, that space to post all their frustrations, they literally become a magnet for predatory activity. So when young girls, young boys turn to the internet and start posting about their breakup and how sad they are, how much they hate living at home because their parents are so strict and they get grounded every 2 seconds, or their teachers are the worst, or failing school, I might as well just give up. Whatever these kids are talking about that seems vulnerable to an adult, if that adult is a predator, they can message this child and say, I'm so sorry you're dealing with a breakup. How could someone ever break up with you? You are so beautiful and so deserving of love. I cannot believe someone did that to you. I would love to get to know you. And in that moment, that 12-year-old, that 17-year-old who receives that message now feels wanted. They don't really care that it's a stranger. They don't care that they've never met that person before. It makes them feel something. And so we just have to protect that vulnerable age range. YouTube is the second most used search engine following Google. You guys, it does not matter if I'm talking to an 8-year-old or an 18-year-old. If I say, how many of y'all actively watch YouTube? It's like double hands. They love it. Just the hard thing about YouTube, you guys, is the amount of content that gets put on YouTube every single day. 300 hours of video are uploaded onto YouTube every minute. And so we can't necessarily combat all the inappropriate stuff that's being uploaded onto YouTube. If an inappropriate YouTube video is reported to that website, they'll investigate and they might take it down. Well, by the time, for how long it took to report it, investigate it, and take it down, a gajillion other inappropriate videos were also uploaded. So that site is really, really hard to monitor as parents. There's a lot of inappropriate videos that have titles that are sneaky. So we'll say like you're watching a Spider-Man video, but it's actually, it's a video with child pornography in it. Or this is a math lesson, but it's actually something about mental health and suicide. So a lot of the people who upload these inappropriate videos will disguise the title name. 16% of child pornographic images are self-produced. That just means that 16% of child pornography that's on the internet comes from kids actually taking these photos of themselves. Y'all, the whole naked photo thing is something I am combating every single day when I go into a middle school and high school. Kids have normalized that behavior of taking naked photos of themselves. This is something that they think people do in relationships. You share naked photos if you want someone to like you. And that's truly just the mindset they have, because they will tell me, Jenna, everybody does it. And that's heartbreaking to hear. Not only can this impact them emotionally and socially, but it's illegal. So really quickly, I'm gonna kind of run through these laws with you guys. If any child under the age, or obviously they're a child if they're under the age of 18. So if anyone under the age of 18 takes an inappropriate photo of themselves, and then sends it to somebody else, they have by law created and distributed child pornography. If they ask for an inappropriate photo of themselves and now they have it on their device, now they have possession of child pornography. So you can create, you can distribute, and you can possess child pornography. Those are felony charges. And these kids are engaging in felony offenses. And so if law enforcement does get involved and investigations are open, now these kids can be facing court dates and they have to appear in front of judges, and a judge will determine their punishment. Yes? No, see, this is where there's a big gray area. The thing is, it has to be. So I've asked a lot of officers about this, officers I work with, because I get that question all the time. And a lot of officers say it's about intent. It's like, did you take this inappropriate photo of yourself? What was the intention of doing it? Was this used to seduce somebody? Was this used in a relationship? Was this used to get a naked photo back? Those are the answers. I'm not a police officer. When it comes to laws, do you know the answer? Correct. So for the people watching on the camera, so for people who are watching the live stream, we're getting questions from the audience about how to actually define child pornography. And if I have a picture of my child in diapers or swimming naked by the pool and just doing little kid stuff, could that be considered child pornography? Can I get arrested for that? And there was someone answered the fact that you have to really look up the definition of what pornographic images are, what those images actually are, and how law enforcement defines pornographic images. We might have to talk offline about that, just because, again, because I'm not an officer, the laws are something I don't want to just make up. I want to give you real, legitimate answers. But what I do know for these kids, these kids that are distributing inappropriate photos back and forth between themselves, felony charges can be on the table. I've talked to judges, I've talked to other people that have dealt with this, and a lot of judges will issue grace in the matter, especially if this child has never been in trouble with law enforcement. I've seen judges issue misdemeanor charges where they have to take a class on why sexting is bad. They have to pay a fine, community service hours, and if they don't do those things that have been given to them or assigned to them in the time frame that's been allotted, there could be a warrant out for their arrest. Y'all, these are kids facing felony charges, misdemeanor charges. That's the last thing that these 14-year-olds should be worried about. And so we need to not normalize taking inappropriate photos. So I talk to the kids about this, I give them those laws, and I also go over social consequences as well. And when it comes to this, and just kind of focusing back on how these images get on the internet, y'all, these naked photos, when kids send naked photos, they have no control over who's gonna see the photo next. So they send this photo to their boyfriend, to their girlfriend, hoping it's just for one person's eyes only. And then that boyfriend, girlfriend sends it to their 5 best friends, bragging about how they got this inappropriate photo. Those people then send it to all their friends. It does not take a very long time for that inappropriate photo to be distributed around the school. And then for that photo to end up in the hands of a predator, and for that predator to then upload that picture onto a pornographic website. So when we look at these statistics, 16% of child pornographic images are self-produced. A good chunk of the time, though, when kids are taking inappropriate photos of themselves, they are coerced into doing so, meaning they are threatened or blackmailed or peer pressured into doing it. It's not necessarily something that they just go home from school one day saying, hey, I want to take a naked photo of myself, never done this before. Typically, there's been an ask or a gesture suggesting that they should do it. 20% of Tinder users are between the ages of 12 and 19. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Tinder. Tinder is a dating app. It's probably like the most common, or not the most common, it just was like the first one. It was the first dating app to kind of break the scene when it came to dating app culture. Tinder's been around for almost 10 years now, which is kind of crazy to think, but it's been around for a long time. And Tinder has a age rating where you have to at least be 18 years of age or older to use Tinder. Except there's a big population of people that are minors that choose to use dating apps. When I go to schools, I do not bring up dating apps. I don't want to give kids any ideas to go download them. So if if a dating app is discussed at a school, it's because a child brought up the question to me. I'll let them open the door to that conversation. So if a child raises their hand and says, well, what about dating apps? I'll first ask the question, well, why are you on them? You should not be on them, so why are you on them? And they say, oh, it's so funny. It's so funny. I get to see all the single teachers. I get to see all the single parents. It's hilarious to find the adults in my life profile. But what ends up happening, you guys, is we're seeing so many stories and so many statistics on inappropriate student-teacher relationships forming through dating apps. There was a teacher arrested in the North Houston area 2 summers ago for selling drugs to students through a dating app. And so we're seeing a lot of inappropriate conduct stem from dating app usage with these minors. And also there's so many predators on dating apps, you guys, and they're looking for kids on these dating apps to lure and to talk to and establish relationships. Only 5% of abductions are perpetrated by strangers. You guys, I feel like the media and a lot of movies and things that we see in the news make us feel like we have to be scared of the creepy person hiding in the bush waiting for you to walk by. And of course, we always do have to be, aware of the creepy people hiding in bushes. But usually, you guys, if your child is going to be abducted, they're going to be abducted by someone they already know. It is so much easier to take advantage of someone that you already have a pre-established relationship with. Same when it comes to human trafficking. If kids are trafficked, 91% of the time they're trafficked by someone they already know. When it comes to sexual assaults, 4 out of 5 times you're sexually assaulted by someone that you already know. So a lot of these patterns are similar when it comes to victimization, who people are being victimized by and why. What I do when I talk to kids is I really reassure them that if they ever get a weird feeling in their stomach about an adult in their life, there is some adult in their life, whether it's a family member, a teacher, a coach, a tutor, I don't care who this adult is, but they make you uncomfortable. And they're messaging you on social media and they're sending you inappropriate photos, that should be the biggest red flag. And I empower these students to go find a trusted adult in their life that they can talk to and confide in so that we can get them out of a dangerous situation. Next, you guys, before we get into apps, I want to talk to y'all just what grooming looks like, the stages of grooming. Grooming is the technique that predators use to establish relationships with kids. And so I actually go through a different version of grooming when I talk to students, but I definitely think students need to be aware of this. So first and foremost, you guys, a predator is going to need to target their victim. Who are they going to pick? This kind of goes back to vulnerabilities. Any predator looking on the internet for a child who seems a little bit more vulnerable than somebody else, a child who maybe doesn't have very many friends, a child who is already sexually explicit on social media, a child who's going through a breakup, who is posting very public things about themselves, they might seem like an easy target. Gaining a victim's trust. So once they reach out to their victim, once they pick their target, they will gain their victim's trust by either talking to them about adult subjects, sharing secrets with them, forming this bond and this relationship with a child that this child has never had with somebody else. This relationship between this child and this person seems very special in the child's eyes. This is not like a similar relationship that they have at school with their friends or they have with their parents. This is a different type of relationship. Once the predator does gain the victim's trust, they might try to pose as that boyfriend, girlfriend, mentor that this child needs in their life. If they're missing relationships, if they're missing parents, if they're missing mentors, they will try to fill that need. And once they fill the need, they're going to isolate these kids away from friends and family. They're going to convince them that their friends and family don't actually love them. So they'll say things like, your parents are so strict. Your parents are always grounding you. They're always taking technology away from you. I don't think your parents actually love you. No one loves you as much as I do. Y'all, how manipulative is that for a child to hear coming out of someone's mouth that they actually feel like they have this really good bond and really good relationship with. So then subconsciously kids will start to isolate themselves away from friends and family and kind of become loners, and the only person that they really lean on is this person they talk to on the internet. They'll try to sexualize the relationship by desensitizing them to sex, sending them links to pornography, sending them adult content, just trying to get them to think that sex at 12 is normal, or it's just what people do that love each other even at a very young age. age. And then predators, you guys, are always going to need to maintain control. Predators are going to need to be one step ahead of their victim. And it could be doing so many different things. Really and truly what we see is these predators will get and gain a lot of personal and identifying information of their victims. So they figure out where these kids go to school. They figure out how many brothers and sisters these kids have. What do their parents do for a living? Are their parents gone at night, or do they have a lot of parental supervision at home? You know, trying to figure out patterns of behavior. If a predator knows where a child lives, they feel like they are really in control, because then they can start doing things and threatening them, and it becomes this manipulative relationship. One being, we have predators, we see this happen all the time, where predators will actually offer kids gifts. So they'll be talking on the internet all the time, they establish this relationship, and the predator will say, you know, I know that you told me you broke your phone last week. I'd love to send you a new one. If your parents aren't gonna buy you a new phone, I will. So then the predator offers this kid a brand new phone. The kid's like, yeah, absolutely. Well, what does a predator need in order to send a kid a gift? Their address. And so they send the gift to the house. The predator now really knows where this child lives. And if the child ever starts to pull out of the relationship, they can say, oh, no, you do have to meet me face to face. Or we have to continue this relationship where I can come to your house and I can hurt your family. And now these children feel trapped. They don't know what to do. At that moment, they feel ashamed and guilty that they even gave away their address to begin with. They're scared. They don't know if they can talk to their parents about this. That's why I need you guys to be those safe people for your kids. They can talk to you about anything without judgment. And this 6-step process right here, you guys, is actually more of the 6-step process that's used for that traffickers use to maintain control of their victims. It's a pretty similar process as what we see grooming on the internet when it's just predatory relationships. And I really just wanted you guys to understand the basics of how this can start and how relationships can form on the internet very, very quickly. So that being said, you guys, let's jump into the social media, all the apps that these kids are on every single day that probably drive you crazy. When it comes to me and what we do at Crime Stoppers is I like to talk about where I'm seeing safety concerns and where I'm seeing predatory activity, just so you guys can know how to monitor these apps better. When it comes to Snapchat's definitely the #1 app that I see kids send inappropriate content through. A lot of the kids will send naked photos on Snapchat. A lot of kids send, kind of scandalous, dangerous posts. And the reason they'll send things through Snapchat versus just texting it to one another is Snapchat's platform was built upon this whole idea where once you've sent a piece of content to somebody through Snapchat, a user opens the picture and then poof, the picture goes away. So after the picture's opened by the person you sent it to, after 10 seconds, that picture goes away. And so kids think, oh, well, if my content is disappearing, I can send whatever I want and no one's ever going to catch me. But the thing is, it does disappear off your child's phone, but it doesn't disappear off the internet. Snapchat has records of everything that is sent through this platform. And so if a child is reported for doing something inappropriate or illegal through this app, police officers just getting the right warrants can pull that content up in like 2 seconds. So that's definitely just like a pattern of behavior that we see happen on Snapchat. The second thing that it does concern me when it comes to Snapchat, there's a feature called Snap Map. Snap Map it's a map that's actually built into Snapchat. So when you open Snapchat, you just pull down on your screen and this map appears. And it actually shows you where every single one of your Snapchat friends is located. And it uses like 3D satellite imagery, just like Google Maps. And so you can zoom in on people and see the exact building they're in. It's not just the street corner they're at, which building they're in on that particular street. So if you were friends with me on Snapchat and you opened Snap Maps, you would know if I lived on the third house down on the left or the 6th house down on the right. You'd be able to know exactly where to find me. You guys, this is a predator's dream, to be able to go onto a map and find kids whenever they want to, pick up on people's patterns of behavior. Because this is a nuance and a feature of Snapchat, I encourage kids to please turn off their location service technology when it comes to social media apps. We want kids to leave on location service technology in general, because if, God forbid, they go missing, we can tap into their phone and figure out where they are. But Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, all these apps out there, you guys, do not need location service technology to function. So if you turn off location service technology for these specific apps, you customize it, it takes away the opportunity for these predators to access your child's location in a split of a second. So it's just it's a safety feature, and it's important that these kids do it. Instagram, you guys, definitely worrisome about predatory activity just because of the nature of how Instagram is set up. How many of you guys in the audience have Instagrams yourself? 3, 4. Okay. All right, you guys. So Instagram, when you have an Instagram and you actually click on somebody's profile, you can see the exact number of followers somebody has and the exact amount of people that follow you. So I can click on all these people's different profiles from all around the world, and I can see how popular they are, basically. I can see how many people follow this person, if they follow a lot of people, what their engagement is like through this app. Y'all, kids fixate on numbers. They want as many followers as possible. They think the more followers they have, the cooler they are. All I hear every single day when I go into schools are, how many Instagram followers do you have? How many views did you get on your TikTok video? It's all about numbers. And because on Instagram you can see that number, kids are more inclined to accept random friend requests. They don't care who sends them a friend request. If they press accept, they get another follower. And then in their eyes, they feel more popular. It's like how kids are actually measuring popularity today. So a couple things, you guys, you have to tell your kids to stop accepting random friend requests and get them to understand that stranger danger on the internet is exactly the same as stranger danger face-to-face. It does not matter that you can't see this person and you can't touch them, you're still engaging and talking to a stranger. So do not accept random friend requests. Tell them, say, I don't care how attractive this person is. I don't care if you have mutual friends in common. If you've never seen this person with your own 2 eyes, there's 0 reason why you need to be friends with that person on social media. Y'all, if any people in this audience were friends with me on Instagram, you would know that I'm a wife and I'm a sister and I'm a daughter. You would know that I have a dog and I like to travel. You would know personal things about me just because you follow me on a social media app. So we also just encourage kids, if they use Instagram, which I'm totally fine with, they use Instagram, you limit the amount of friends you have and you do not post personal and identifying things about yourself on social media. Parents, you also need to go in and check direct messages. You need to look at the conversations that are occurring through social media. TikTok is like this whole new beast that I am tackling every single day in schools. Raise your hand in the audience if you're familiar with TikTok, if you've heard of TikTok. Okay, a good majority of y'all. That's awesome. So TikTok really started as an app called Musical.ly. And Musical.ly no longer exists. It is now TikTok. In TikTok, when it first kind of took off, it was a almost like a dancing app, like a music dancing app, where kids would play a song in the background of their video and they'd make up cute little dances and post it. Well, it's really grown. You guys substantially have grown. And it's not just dancing videos that get uploaded to TikTok. It's anything and everything. I'm seeing kids film their parents. I'm seeing kids film their teachers in class. Kids are filming other kids without their consent and without their permission, posting pretty inappropriate, provocative dance moves, posting videos with like no clothes on. And this platform is being used to broadcast a lot more than just dances. What hurts me and where I see a lot of dangers on TikTok is when these kids are posting in their school sweatshirt, when they're posting in front of their house, when they're posting videos that clearly identify them from another child. I don't need a kid posting a TikTok video in Cinco Ranch Junior High on their chest. So now anyone that watches that video now knows where that child goes to school. And so you have to be careful. It's just about talking to kids about these dangers. It's not taking everything away from them. It's making them aware and understanding the dangers of posting such identifying information. I also encourage these kids to keep their TikToks private. They do not need a public account. A public account allows anyone in the entire world access to your video. Kids will say, but Miss Jenna, I want to be TikTok famous. That's all they want. They want to like blow up on these apps. They want Ellen DeGeneres to go invite them to be on their show. They want to be the next big star. And they know that they're able to do that if they put out a lot of content and they're public. Well, we try to teach kids that that's just not the safest thing to do. And when it comes to their heart and their body and their mind, we want them to believe in their personal safety. We've talked a lot about YouTube, you guys, already, but again, it's super hard to monitor unless you do have like special software that the schools have, which is incredible, but at home, it can be a little bit more difficult. I've seen child pornography on YouTube Kids. I've seen a lot of inappropriate videos uploaded. Kids can actually go to YouTube and type in how to commit suicide, how to shoot up a school, how to make a bomb, how to take drugs. There are so many how-to tutorials on YouTube, but some pretty bad ones as well. If a child ever searches that at a school, the school's firewall is going to see that immediately, and it probably won't even be able to go through, or if it did go through somehow, now that principal is pulling the child into their office to talk to them about why they searched that. But at home, it can be a little bit more difficult to monitor what they're viewing. A lot of the videos on YouTube, such as how to commit suicide, how to shoot up a school, YouTube has actually flagged as a video for adults. So they say, when you click on it, are you 18? And then it'll make you log into your account to prove that you're 18. Well, kids, you guys, they're crafty. So all they do is they go to create an account, and when it says how old you are, they just select a year that they're born in that makes them at least 18. All kids know how to do basic math. It's not like you have to upload a photo ID to YouTube to prove how old you are when creating an account. So kids are always like 2 steps ahead. They're always kind of getting around some of the restrictions that are out there. When it comes to VSCO, you guys, VSCO is a photo editing app. It's really, really popular with young girls. Not going to be stereotypical. There's 100% boys that use this as well. But what I'm seeing happen is it's creating this culture and this divide within girls at schools. I've had a lot of girls come up to me and say, well, I'm a VSCO girl, and this girl's not a VSCO girl, and we just don't really get along. And a VSCO girl, you guys, are girls that kind of are dressed like this, super cute. They just wear like baggy t-shirts and high socks, and they wear their hair a certain way, and they carry certain water bottles. It's kind of become this whole culture where VSCO girls kind of all band together, and then the non-VSCO girls kind of hang out together, and they bully one another. I've seen it happen in schools a lot when I go in there. There's actually a whole movement during Halloween to dress up as a VSCO girl to make fun of girls that choose to use the social media app. So when it comes to the cyberbullying that we see, this can be just a small reason why it's happening. Then you guys, we need to be aware of all the different video chatting platforms that are out there. WhatsApp's actually going away. I don't know if it has yet, but WhatsApp put out a big statement that they're actually not going to be an entity anymore and that they're moving to something else, so look out for that. But the reason I bring up video chatting, you guys, is kids will actively tell me that they prefer to video chat instead of text. First of all, when they text, they don't even text through messages anymore. They text through Snapchat and they text through Instagram. So if you're looking for the good stuff, the stuff that you need to find on your kids' phones, you look through the social media and the text. It can't just be text. But a lot of kids like to video chat because video chats are not recorded. So you can go back and look at past conversations through direct message and through text. You can't go look back at your kids' old video chats. Again, y'all, they're smart, they're crafty, they outsmart us. And so I have a lot of teens that will say, I just take my phone and during screen time, I go into the bathroom and I just video chat with my friends for 5 minutes, say what I want to say that I can't say over text, and then I go back out into the living room. Teens don't know that I actually go and tell you guys this stuff after they tell me what they're doing. So what I highly recommend, you guys, when screen time is allowed in your homes, make sure that their devices are in a public space of your home. The device, the computer, the tablet, the cell phone needs to be in the living room. You're in the kitchen, they're in the living room. You can give them some sort of privacy, but they should not be taking their phones into the bathroom, taking their phones into their bedroom, especially at that young age when they first get their phones and they have to develop responsibility and develop trust with you guys, because they will sneak around and have a conversation on video chat that you never ever know about. So just monitor it a little bit better and ask for the devices to be in those open spaces. There's other random apps out there, you guys, that aren't the mainstream ones that we typically hear about. Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok. There's other ones like Monkey, Meet Me, Scout, Omegle, however you want to say it. So when it comes to Monkey, you guys, Monkey is a FaceTiming app. It's a FaceTiming platform. If I'm a parent and I'm scrolling through my kids' apps that they have downloaded onto their device, and I see this cute little icon on my child's phone, I am not going to think twice about it. That's also just me as a person. I typically would look past that, I believe, if I was a parent. You know, app designers do this on purpose. A lot of them will disguise what is actually beneath this app, what this app actually does. Monkey, the cute little icon, has nothing to do with it, with what this app actually is. It's FaceTiming, and you can actually FaceTime with anyone in the entire world. So when you download Monkey, it does make you answer specific questions about yourself. You have to type in your name, your gender, where you live, and how old you are. So that information is required. When you type in how old you are, there's a drop-down menu that appears, so you can just pick whatever age you want to be. I could be a 55-year-old male from Canada if I wanted to on Monkey. No one's going to tell me I'm not that person. And so people are making fake profiles. You guys, predators are making fake profiles as teenagers. And they're getting on this app hoping that they get to connect with other teenagers. Because what you can do is then pick from the list of descriptors. If I, as a Monkey user, want to FaceTime with a 30-year-old male from Australia, I can select 30, male, Australia, and hopefully a 30-year-old male from Australia appears on the other side of my screen, but that is very rarely the case because people make fake profiles. One funky nuance, you guys, to Monkey is that these FaceTimes only last for 15 seconds. If you get connected with someone, the other person only appears for a short period of time. If you like them, you can actually press this time button and another 15 seconds is added on. So you can continue to talk to them for as long as you want, as long as you keep pressing time. To me, I feel like this platform almost started as a speed dating kind of idea, but it turned into something so much bigger. They've also now partnered with Snapchat. So Monkey is now partnered with Snapchat. If you connect face-to-face on this app, it also provides you with a pop-up window that says, you can now connect to this person through Snapchat. Would you like to friend this person on Snapchat? So now these two people that have just met face-to-face for the first time over social media can become friends on Snapchat. Y'all, if you're friends on Snapchat, what also do you have access to? The map. Yeah, that's exactly right, the map. And so all these apps, you guys, they work together, they're connected. And so now you are knowing exactly where this random person lives, goes to school, their patterns of behavior, and everything. Meet Me and Scout are two apps that I actually heard about over the summer. So kind of nearing a year ago, I got a phone call for some of the officers I work with in the ICAC division, Internet Crimes Against Children. And these officers told me, they said, hey, Jenna, there's two apps that are out there that are kind of new into the scene. We're seeing a lot of predatory activity. Just want you to be aware of them. They're almost like dating apps for kids. I know that sounds horrible, and it's like hard to even imagine that there are such things out there, but they're basically dating apps for kids, you guys, so please be aware of those two. And then Omegle. Omegle is another FaceTiming application. All it needs is access to your camera. So you don't have to create a profile. You just download the app on your phone. A little pop-up window will say, can Omegle access your camera? You say yes, and then all you have to do is press go. And basically what happens is your face appears in a corner up on your phone, and then a random person will pop up. a random person that's also using Omegle at the exact same time as you. If you don't like that person because they creep you out for some reason, you can press next and a new person will appear. So this really is like speed dating on the internet. But y'all, this is also a platform where I've had more kids come up to me and tell me that they've seen genitalia for the first time. This was the platform they saw people do really, really inappropriate, disgusting things for the very, very first time. And I love that the kids feel comfortable telling me about it so that I can relay this message back to you. Really quickly, you guys, let's kind of go through live streaming and how these different platforms can impact kids. So there's so many different ways that we can live stream. We can live stream through Instagram. We can live stream through YouTube. There's actually just live streaming platforms. That's all that platform does. LiveMe is one of them. Periscope is a very popular live streaming application for Android devices. And then this is a big one too, Twitch. Twitch was kind of that first live streaming platform for gamers, for people to live stream themselves on Xbox and PlayStation and that sort of stuff. What I get worried about, you guys, and this is a very common theme that you're probably noticing, it's what these kids are live streaming. It's not necessarily live streaming that scares me, it's what they're live streaming, what they're broadcasting. I've gone on to these live streams, especially LiveMe and a lot of the specific live streaming apps, and clicked on a kid's live stream because they're public. I can just click on it and sit there and watch it. So I've joined the live stream. These kids are in their room talking about personal stuff, showing people their house, showing people their clothes, talking about their brothers and sisters and their boyfriends and their girlfriends. And I'm watching this and I'm just sitting there thinking, this child cannot be older than 11. And I've already learned so much about this child. And if I really wanted to know more about them, I'd just continue to watch their live streams and I'd probably easily figure out where they go to school or what they do on a day-to-day basis, what their patterns of behavior are. I don't need these kids turning to the internet to broadcast how they feel every single day. We can use the internet safely, but talking about yourself so explicitly and publicly as a minor is scary to me. And we just want to encourage these kids to not use platforms to broadcast such personal things. If your kids love to be Xbox and PlayStation gamers and they want to broadcast themselves on Twitch, y'all just need to talk about that as a family and establish boundaries and establish rules. One quick thing that I do see on live streams, you guys, is not only do you broadcast yourself live through these apps, people can live comment as well. So comments will appear while you're broadcasting yourself. And I can tell when a predator has joined a live stream in 2 seconds because of the language they use. And I'll be PG because I don't feel like being R-rated, but they'll say things like, hey, you're so beautiful, show me some skin, take your top off, send me a message privately, and we'll send a link to their Instagram account. And so these kids are actively being exposed to language that's asking them to take their clothes off and to show them skin and telling them how beautiful they are. Where I'm seeing this become a problem is when I go into middle schools and high schools and I talk to kids about healthy relationships. They don't necessarily know what healthy relationships look like all the time. They have normalized very inappropriate requests at a very young age. And I'm seeing this transition into their dating lives as teenagers, where they feel like when someone asks for an inappropriate photo or to move quickly in a sexual way, that is normal. That's just what people do, because they've been exposed to that language for a very, very long time. We've talked a lot about dating apps, you guys. So again, these are like the mainstream dating apps that typically adults use. And then we have a lot of these like kid dating apps, so to speak. They're disguised in the App Store as make a new friend. So you can type in the App Store, make a new friend nearby, and all these apps are going to appear, but they're connecting you with random people in your area, just like a dating app. It's the exact same software, exact same concept. It's just marketed a little bit differently. And also, you guys, look at these apps. These look like they're for adults, right? Like the way that they're designed, the colors, the fire, the dark colors, mature faces. These apps look like they're for kids. These apps look like they're kid-friendly. That a lot of them honestly look like educational apps to me. I know a lot of the teachers use educational apps for students, and a lot of them are designed the exact same way, and that's scary. This young man was victimized through a dating app, and I want to be able to share his story with you. He was 17 years old when he kind of found himself in some trouble. He was actively searching for a relationship. He was going off to college and had never really been in a relationship before. Some background on him, he was just a little bit shy in nature, so walking up to someone at school and saying, hey, you want to go on a date with me on Friday? Really wasn't something he felt comfortable with. So dating apps seemed more conducive for him to just download a dating app and kind of talk to people behind the scenes, which again, every personality is different. But he was 17, and so again, a little bit young to start using dating apps. He ended up connecting to another 17-year-old girl on a dating app called Hot or Not, which is just a horrible name in general, but that's where they had matched. And they really clicked, you guys. They kind of both self-identified as nerds and were quiet and had a lot of things in common. They actually agreed to meet face-to-face. Through the research I've done on this story, both parents, like sets of parents, the girl's parents and his parents, they both knew that their children were talking to people on the internet and they were going to the movies and they were hanging out. Well, one thing led to another, and they're teenagers, so they ended up becoming sexually active with each other. Her parents found out that they were sexually active by reading text messages, because kids talk about all that kind of stuff through text. And her parents flipped out, absolutely flipped out. And it wasn't necessarily just because she was sexually active, it was because she was 14. She had lied on her dating profile saying she was 17, but she was 14. And they found out that this boy was 17, and they pressed charges. Because what they had just done is he had committed a felony by having sex with a 14-year-old. And he is a registered sex offender. So he was found guilty. He was on 5 years probation. He was not allowed to own an electronic device, be within 50 feet of a minor, talk to anyone under the age of 17 besides family members, wasn't able to go to college. His whole life completely blew up in flames because somebody lied to him on the internet. He actually was removed from the National Sex Offender Registry to his state registry after his probation. And there was also problems with this case because his defense team was arguing, but she lied. She lied on her profile. Can't there be something done? Because lying about your age on the internet is also illegal. But what he had done, at least in this court case, was viewed as way more of an issue versus her lying on the internet. I will tell kids this story, you guys, and their faces, I mean, every single kid I talk to, boy or girl, they feel for him. They feel horrible because they're like, this could happen to me so easily. I could totally believe that a 14-year-old's a 17-year-old. 14-year-olds look 30 today with all the outfits and the makeup and et cetera. That's hard. And I'll look at these kids and say, I hear you. You guys, I hear you. And this is hard. My heart goes out for him too. What I will say, you guys, and what the law says as well, is not looking at somebody's age is not a reliable defense. So if you say in court, but they told me they were 14, their dating app, or they told me they were 17, the app said they were 17, that isn't good enough. And so kids will say, so what do I have to do? Check ID? I'm like, yeah, that's better than going to prison. Things are just changing today, you guys, and how kids are communicating and how kids are meeting. So I also take time in my presentation to go over consent laws and what this looks like here in the state of Texas. I love that Jay brought up Common Sense Media. We are a big believer in Common Sense Media. It's a phenomenal resource for parents. You guys, please, please, please use it. You can research all apps on Common Sense Media. And then when it comes to just, besides the Common Sense Media stuff, you guys, please limit the amount of users and followers that your kids have. You can just start slowly. If they can show you they can be responsible, you can add followers, set rules for private messaging, and then download new games and apps for young children. One great thing that I love, you guys, is you can actually have a family app store. Okay, so you can set up your app store as to where one person is in charge of the entire app store. All your IDs are connected under one account. So every single person in your family, when they go to download an app, it has to be approved by someone. So if you're worried about my kids downloading Snapchat behind my back, my kids downloading Monkey behind my back, it has to be approved through you in the first place. So I highly recommend setting up that family app store structure. All right, you guys, we're almost finished. Yes. What stops them from creating a different, like Apple ID? Well, your Apple ID is connected through your device. So they can technically go and delete their old Apple ID, set up a new one, but you're gonna know that. You'll get a notification on that, and also you can just check your kid's phone every couple days and see if they have apps have slipped through the cracks and see if they've been downloading things behind your back, and you're going to be able to see that they, again, were steps ahead of us and did something sneaky. Yes. Oh, download new apps and games for themselves. Yes. All right, you guys, online gaming. I get questions about gaming all the time. I actually could spend an hour just talking about gaming. I'm not going to do that because we've talked about a lot. You know, when it comes to gaming, you guys, it's not necessarily the game that we're concerned about at Crime Stoppers. It's not the game specifically, it's who they're gaming with. I know that y'all are picking up on this theme. It's who these kids are talking to and what information is being talked about through these games. When it comes to gaming, you guys, there's so many different ways that these kids can communicate. A lot of these games are multiplayer games, which means they have to battle with strangers in order to play these games. So if their 4 best friends aren't gaming at the same time as them, they're logged in with complete random strangers, and that's who they're gaming with. They can game with strangers as long as they don't talk to them. And so a lot of these applications, you guys, they come with those headsets. You can get in chat rooms and talk to these people. I encourage parents to take away the means of communication. Y'all, disable the headset. You can do that. You don't have to play Fortnite with a headset. You can play Fortnite without a headset. You can turn off the chat room features. So these kids can't talk to the 500 other strangers that are also playing the game at the same time. It's about finding the happy medium. You don't have to take everything away. You just find the balance within it. Also, please make sure that any gaming console, Xbox, PlayStation, are in open spaces of your home. Please don't have them in a bedroom or where they can close a door and game all night to 4 a.m. without your knowledge. We always teach kids, you guys, to block and report. So we're just teaching them how to find the blocking and reporting features on all the different social media that they use. Please encourage your kids to block inappropriate people, block inappropriate content, report inappropriate content to websites and apps. Okay, promise you we are like so close to wrapping up, you guys. And I know this is a long presentation, and feel free to listen, to stay, or to leave whenever you have to. So online challenges, these are the different challenges that kids are exposed to on the internet. They're almost like dares. They're like it's this culture where you choose to participate in this challenge so that you can prove that you did something. Like tasks. There's the Tide Pod eating challenge where kids are challenged to eat and ingest Tide Pods. It stemmed from Instagram. This was a challenge that started on Instagram. We see things like the water bottle flipping challenge, which I'm sure you've have one child who has done this, where they sit and they flip water bottles. It's the most annoying thing in the world. Well, it started on YouTube. I know that flipping a water bottle they're not doing that online, but it stemmed from a YouTube video of a kid flipping water bottles. And you might be thinking, the water bottle flipping challenge, what's so bad about that? Yeah, it's annoying, but kids aren't getting hurt. What I've learned through my research and through psychologists that I've spoken to, once kids start participating in online challenges, it kind of almost becomes an addictive pattern of behavior. And if they've mastered flipping a water bottle, that becomes boring at a certain point. So then they find other things that are a little bit more risk-taking, a little bit more daring. So they start eating Tide Pods or doing things that could maybe potentially hurt them in some sort of way. This lady up here, she's called Momo. The Momo challenge kind of took the internet by storm last year. I have never, ever in the couple years I was working for Crime Stoppers received so many phone calls from school counselors in a short period of time, and it was all because of Momo. I had school counselors calling me, Jenna, I need you to come to my campus right now. My kids are bawling, crying in my first grade classroom about Momo, and I don't even know what Momo is. I need you to come talk to them. Try to find time within my schedule to do this. And when I would talk to these kids about Momo, and what Momo is, you guys, I'll pause for a second. It was this horrible, scary picture of this person who started embedding into like Peppa the Pig cartoons, Paw Patrol cartoons. So young kids would be watching this cartoon on YouTube, then all of a sudden this Momo's face would pop up and start talking to them in this like trance-like voice and asking them to do really dangerous things and saying, if you don't listen to me, I'll come to your house and I'll kill your family. And so these 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds were being exposed to this kind of stuff. Momo was challenging kids to take knives and sleep with knives under their pillows and put a fork in an electrical socket. I mean, scary, scary stuff. So when I was going to schools to talk to kids about this, what I learned in that moment, because I'm not a parent myself, but what I did learn in this moment, you guys, it is very hard to talk about the concept of real versus fake to young kids. They know what those words are. They know that things are real and things are fake, but the concept is pretty abstract. And so to tell a 6-year-old this isn't real, Momo is not real, they had a very hard time believing me. And they'd say, I don't believe you. She said she'd come to my house and she'd hurt me. I'm so scared. And they were bawling, crying, and were completely traumatized by the things they were seeing on the internet. These two young men up here, you guys, they have both lost their lives participating in online challenges. This young man was 11 years old, and he was 15 when he passed away. The 11-year-old up on the screen, he passed away participating in what's called the Choking Game Challenge, where kids are challenged through the internet to choke themselves to the point where they pass out. It has to be filmed, and that friends gather around, they do CPR to revive you and bring you back to life, and it's filmed and put on the internet. This young man actually ended up choking himself with a belt. He didn't know how else to make himself pass out. That seemed like the most logical way to do so, and he pulled so tightly that he broke the windpipe bone, and he died almost instantly. His friends saw it. It was on camera for his parents to see. He was 11 years old. This young man on the left, he was 15. What is speculated is that he was actually participating in what's called the Blue Whale Challenge. Parents in this room, I need you to understand, I will never, ever, ever tell a child about the Blue Whale Challenge. I have some parents, after they hear about it in just a second, say things like, well, I think our kids should know about this. Y'all, kids are curious, so they will go try to find it once they hear about it, and I don't even want to give a child an option to participate in something like this. The Blue Whale Challenge is a series of 50 tasks, and each task is dangerous and scary and risk-taking and self-harming in nature. This is the challenge you read about where kids are tasked to jump off 3-story buildings or run across railroad tracks as a train is coming, run away from home for 24 to 48 hours and then return home, start participating in self-mutilating behaviors, cutting yourself without actually passing away, not eating, not sleeping, vandalism, theft, all these crazy things that kids should never, ever be participating in. Every time you get a task, it must be filmed and then submitted to the person that's in charge of this challenge. It's originated in Russia, didn't even originate in the US. And then once the task is approved, you'll get the next one. You know, there's 50 of these tasks. So sit here and think for a second. If your daughter, your son, who is 13 years old, is participating in something like this, think how brainwashed they become. All they want to do is prove to themselves and to their friends that they're talking to at school that they can do this. It's about showing that they can actually do this. It's bragging rights. It's saying, look what I survived. Look how cool this is. The 50th challenge actually challenges these kids to take their own life. And that's how they win the game. It's heartbreaking and so sad that these things even exist. I apologize that I just got like a smidge emotional, and the reason I do is this young man in particular, I've talked about his story for a long time, but his teacher 2 summers ago in my statewide session, I had about 400 people in my audience, she was sitting there listening to me speak about him, and she had no idea I was going to bring him up. He's from San Antonio, so I was at a statewide conference. She came up to me after the conference and cried and said, I wasn't prepared to hear that, and I apologize because it's really hard to talk about that. And she said, but I'm so glad you did. She said, thank you so much for talking about him, because no one in my small town in San Antonio chooses to talk about him anymore. It was this like horrible tragedy that happened in the community, and then it was just kind of pushed under the rug. And the reason I share this story, you guys, is I truly 100% believe that cyber safety has to be a focal point of almost every conversation that we're having with these kids. Digital citizenship, protecting yourself, not sharing personal information, and talking when they feel scared. Y'all, we need these kids to talk to you. Please, please, please be a safe person. The way that these kids are growing up today, you guys, is completely 100% different than the way that you grew up. And to me, I feel like it's very unfair when adults judge kids when you did not experience any of this yourself. I don't really think that that's fair to do to somebody. Judge someone for an experience that you have never, ever faced yourself. So you have got to open your hearts and minds and realize that what kids are faced with every single day is a lot more than I think adults actually truly realize. All right, you guys, we're going to wrap up kind of quickly. Please be aware of the secret and anonymous apps that are also out there. Kids will hide a lot of information on these apps. A really popular one of these secret and anonymous apps, I'm going to wait for y'all to take some photos, but is these calculator apps. So it looks like a calculator, it functions like a calculator. If you download it, it will work, but it also has a secret folder where you can hide pictures and videos and texts. There's also a lot of different secret ways to search online, so kids can go choose to use a private browser, they can go in incognito mode, and when they search secretly on the internet, it doesn't show up in their search history. So parents don't know that they were searching inappropriate things. If you have an Apple device, you guys, the screen time is an amazing, amazing new feature in the settings where you can actually go and look at how your kids are using their screen time. You can actually set restrictions. Their phone can shut off at a certain time. You can block certain apps after 9 p.m. They can't even get on Snapchat anymore. So it's a really, really great way to monitor. Again, it's called screen time. And on Android devices, there's a very similar thing to screen time, and it's called digital well-being. So it doesn't matter if you have Apple or Android, there are always different ways to monitor. Also, you guys, when it comes to the settings, please make sure that your kids have private accounts. We've talked about this a lot. You can set up in the settings really easily. You just click on privacy, make sure they're private. And then please, please, as a reminder, you guys, turn off location service for any social media platform. Keep location service turned on, but customize the apps that actually actively use that location service technology. This is kind of where I'm going to just end. These are the best parent monitoring apps, or some of the best parent monitoring apps, you guys. I highly encourage y'all to look into these. There's amazing software out there, and there's new ones that always pop up. At Crime Stoppers, we're always trying to research and stay current on the best ones, but if I can recommend any parenting software, definitely these. And please also refer to the links that Jay was talking about on Common Sense Media. How can I monitor text messages? How can I monitor Snapchat? You can click on those links and they might give you even a better app than the ones that are up here. These are predators that have been arrested in Harris County for predatory activity through the internet, you guys. And the reason we show these faces is also to show you that predators can be anyone. Predators can be any age, any race, any ethnicity, socioeconomic background. They can be male or female. If you have a picture of what a predator looks like in your brain, please wipe that slate clean. Just like traffickers, just like abusers, anyone can take advantage of someone's vulnerabilities. One small commonality we are seeing with online predators today is a lot of them are younger than you would think. If you think about that, you guys, think about a 70-year-old trying to talk to a kid on Snapchat. They're not going to know even where to begin. So when we think about who these people are that are contacting our kids through social media, they're typically of this younger crowd because they know how to use Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok very well. And this isn't complicated for them. They know the lingo, they know the language, they know the trends of what to post. We go over laws with students as well. I just want you to be aware of that. Anytime I go to a presentation, we talk about sexting laws, threat laws, online personation, David's Law, which is the most recent cyberbullying law, you guys, in Texas, which actually makes it illegal to tell someone to kill themselves over social media. It actually helps kids get justice for cyberbullying. It keeps schools accountable. So I tell teachers about this every single summer. When I go over bullying prevention, we want parents to know about David's Law as well. And when it comes to you guys, please monitor your child's online usage. Charge your phones, you guys, parents. The kids I talk to will actively tell me that they get frustrated, that they try to reach out to their parents, but their parents' phone goes straight to voicemail because you never have your phone charged. Please have your phone charged. Please be accessible to your child when they need to reach you. Model healthy relationships. Never stop talking to your kids. You guys, dialogue is key. And then just be someone they can reach out to. Y'all, what is the first question that you ask your child when they get into your car, when you pick them up from school? How was your day, right? Yeah, how was your day? It's the first question that my mom and dad asked me every single day when they picked me up until I could start driving. I love that you ask your child how your day was. That's important that you talk to them. It's not like you ignore them when they get in the car. But you guys, I'm going to also encourage you to switch up the question. When you ask them the same exact question every single day, that is why you're getting a response like good, fine. That was it. Yeah. One-word answers, I'm done talking to mom and dad. You're asking the same exact question, and they don't really have another answer besides good, fine, bad. Ask them something else. You guys ask them, what did you learn today? What was something at school that made you happy today? Was there anything at school that upset your friends? If you can actually get them to start talking about their friends, you can see their empathy skills. You can see if they're even noticing if their friends are sad. It'll get them to start talking openly a lot more. And you know your kids, once they start talking, they don't stop. So just ask them the right questions. Know that you have duties as a parent to protect your child. Be in the know. I want you to know their friends and what's going on. Also choose your battles. Be careful about the battles that you pick, you guys. I've actually had a lot of parents tell me that as their kid has gotten older, so they have teenagers now, and teenagers are exposed to parties, and they're starting to go to things, and they're not just at home with their parents every single night. I've actually had a lot of parents tell me that their child has changed their contact name in their phone from mom to like Sarah or something random. So if they need to be picked up from a party or they're in a bad situation, they're calling Sarah instead of their mom so that they don't get made fun of if people are like, why are you texting your mom? Why are you calling your mom? Just something to throw out there. To me, I think that I don't know. It's a hard thing. It's up to you, but I've heard that from multiple parents. And always have emergency procedures in place. I recommend that if your child is out without you, you guys, if they send you an emoji of a palm tree, you know that there's an emergency going on. Have some sort of code that you have with your kids. Instead of your kids texting you, Mom, I'm in trouble, I need you really quickly, they text you that one emoji or the one word where you know instantly if you get that sent to you, you go pick them up and that you're there for them. All right, you guys, I talked about a lot, and I talked probably a lot more than I used to because they kind of said, like, I have some time to do this. Does anybody have any questions about anything I covered, something you want me to clarify or anything? I'm happy to do so. Yeah. Well, y'all were an amazing audience, and I hope you learned something today. Again, you guys just protect your kids, keep these kiddos safe. I appreciate you taking time out of your day, and if you want to ask me something privately, I'll stick around for a little bit. Thank y'all so much.